So, good morning, everyone. So here, see, you can install your Microsoft SQL Database Express on your machine. And here I'm just managing in different virtual machines because um, I want to show you even the AD authentication as well. And in case if you are installing on your machine, then you can have your local user created and you can use that. So let me just go in a full screen mode. To interact with database, right, we will be using Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So SQL database engine is different, and to access that engine in order to create our databases, we will be using this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. And here server type will be like we'll be taking the database engine, and all these are like whatever we recently got, right, like Power BI and all this analysis, integration, reporting, and all these are part of MS SQL only. And now they came up with the Power BI for easy drag and drop interactions and to avoid the SQL and all. But it is part of the MS SQL only. And our area of interest is like to start with the database engine and the server name. So probably the server name will be the machine name only, like on which we installed, or else like we may get an option to give the custom server name when we are installing our database engine. Okay? And authentication types, we will be having multiple authentication types. So the major is like Windows authentication and SQL Server authentication. These two are the major we generally use, and it can be integrated with the Azure Active Directory. And here Windows authentication is nothing but your on-premises Active Directory. See, this Active Directory in the sense like whoever is there in the organization, everyone will have the username and password to log in, right? And the user will be configured in the Active Directory, and the user permissions will be managed from there because everyone will not have all the permissions, and from person to the person the permissions will be keep on changing, and that will be managed at the Active Directory level. So Windows authentication is like a on-premises Active Directory and on which system you logged in with the user. And if I go here, let me come here to the command prompt. So if I type who am I, which means it will return me the username of and domain on which like I logged in. And if you see my domain name is skillrpa and the username is pathru. So I configured my domain, my network as skillrpa and name as pathru. And if you see, even if you are when you are configuring the robot also, you need to give the domain and username and password. So to get that, this is the command who am I, which we will perform in order to get your domain and username. So which means I logged in as a user pathrudu onto the domain network skill RPA. And this domain network will change. Like for example, if you take um, Infosys, it will be Infosys. And for in case if you take Amazon, it will be Amazon. So the domain network will be like even they can change the numbers name also. Like let us suppose if you take Infosys, like you'll be having some name at the rate infosys.com, and it is not necessary that all the time it needs to be Infosys for the Active Directory. They can have some corporate or some like domain name may change. So we just need to get the domain name in this way. So here the two authentication methods which we generally want to see is SQL Server authentication and Windows authentication. For Windows authentication, if you are going to with the Windows authentication, it is not it username and password fields are got disabled. If you see the server authentication, you got the username and password which we need to provide. The reason is when you click on the Windows authentication, if you see here, right, the domain and the name, whatever we have saw in the command prompt are getting reflected, which means you already logged into this machine with this username. So it is not necessary to give the password because you are already logged in. So you are an authenticated user to access this machine. So in that case, with the same username, you can access the database engine as well. So let us click on connect. Now we could able to access our database server. Okay. And we have databases where we can create our database. See, this is a server or a database engine, and inside that we can create our databases. Okay. And to create our databases, we'll take the new query, create database, my first DB. So we can have our database created. So for that, like create database and the name of the database which we want to give. And let us select this and click on execute. And let us refresh this and expand. See here, we got the database. So on top of a database server, we created our database. Okay. And now inside of this database, we can create our tables and we can perform the other tasks as well. Okay. So let me expand this. And inside of the tables, we don't have the actual tables. See, these are the system generated tables by default we will get and nothing to do with that. And now let us see where do we have the users. Here for this database, we have the users. Here, this is at the server level. Okay. So expand login. So these are the different users assigned to this database. And we can create a new user login as well for this. And let me create a new user, new login. Login name, I can say training. And I'll go with the SQL authentication, not the Windows authentication. I can just provide password. So I give the password. I don't want to enforce the password policy for now. I want to keep that as it is. And if you want to have like if you enable this right, as soon as you try to log in with that particular user, it will ask to change the password. And for every 90 days, the password will expire. So the enforcement will come here. So I'm disabling it and I'm clicking on OK. Okay. See, in majority of the cases, we go over this only, the Windows authentication, but in some scenarios, it might be required to go with SQL authentication. And now we got the user at this database server level, right? And if I go here and go into the properties, roles, we can just have the server roles also. We can give the permissions, what actions can be performed with this user. Let us suppose I'm not giving access to any of these um, uh, tables or something. I'm just giving access as a public. Okay. I'm not changing anything. And if I come here, users, so here I need to have the users. We come here, right click new user. Path through. I'll take this. Okay. Okay. Leave it for now. This will be done by the database admin just to get an understanding. I'm telling you guys about this. And I didn't give any permissions for April training, right? So let us see. Now here under the first database, I want to create a table. So I can select this first DB. We need to select it or else like it will go the table, whatever we are trying to create will go into a different table. So here table we will be using create table and the table name can be student list. Name. There are few things which will be under the keywords, right? Those we cannot use, so we can use this name varchar. I can put 20 characters. So we will be providing to create a table. We will be using create table and we will be giving the table name and we can give the column names along with the data types. Let me paste here. So here if you see, right, this is the blue word and it is not highlighting any error. So this will work, but the suggested way is to when you have the reserved keywords you are using as a column names, better to put in this. And in case if you want to have any spaces, right, this will not work. Even to have the spaces inside your column names, just need to put that in the square brackets. Now this will work. Yeah, let us run this. So let me go to my database tables. Refresh this tables. So now I got the table list. Okay. So the table is got created. To see the table, you can use select star from student list. Then we can execute the single line. So here is my column C, name, location, course topic. And let us input some data here. To, to input some data, insert into student list. I can directly provide the values if I'm providing all the 4 values. If not, I need to give the map as with the column names. We discussed in the previous session also the same thing. So to give the name, we put in the single quotes. Why I'm getting this errors? Oh, I need to write it as values here. So now I can provide my values. Like, okay. Let me execute this. It will throw an error. The reason here is, see, if you take this right, the course topic, we are saying like we need to have only one character, but here we are giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters. So it will not allow. If I put it as a 1 and if I execute it, now the rows got affected. And let us read the data. So we got the right. Okay. So let us do one thing. Let us do these operations from UiPath Studio instead from the SQL query, SQL management server. So are we clear till this place, or do you have any queries?
So, Partha, connected.
Srinath, so actually, my speakers are not working. So if you have something, please write in the chat.
Okay.
Srinath, if you have something, please write in the chat, or else like we'll continue.
I'm sorry. I'm not now. I'll ask all the questions at one time. I'll drop a mail to you.
Okay, we'll continue. Let us go with the UiPath Studio on the same server. So we'll search for the database. We don't have, so we'll go to the manage packages, all packages. We'll just search for the database, and here are my database activities. We'll click on install, save, accept. So now we got the database activities. So first thing is to connect with the database. Even you can use these activities also. Here also you can do the connection, but it is always recommended that you go with the connect to database activity to connect to your database. So come here and we'll click on the configure, and here we can use this configure visa, and from here we need to select the database source, and our source is Microsoft SQL Server. In case if it is in the ODBC, we'll select ODBC. So we'll select the MS SQL Server, and here in the server name, we don't find anything, right? So we'll come here and we'll see it here. So my server name is skill RPA-MSGB. Ideally, it should show, but if it is not showing it, got hanged. So Akash, it was got hanged, man. Like in database activities, right? When we are trying to configure the wizard, and if we just switch it to any other server, any other window, right? Then automatically this will take some more time to get restored. See if it is got hanged. I'm just waiting for it. So let us keep this name in mind. Skill RPA-MSDB, and let us try to do that. Click on connection wizard, and the data source is MS SQL Server. And here we don't have the server name, right? We don't have any name, so we can write skill RPA-MSDB. On refresh now. Now we got the database names. So if you see, right, we created my first DB database here in the SQL Server. Now we can select it and now click on the test connection. We just need to make sure whether our configurations are correct or not before we proceed. So the test connection, it is successful. Click on OK. See, if you see here, right, it created a connection string. Not this. Where is this? Here it is, the connections. So it created a connection string, and we can use this connection string also in order to connect. But ideally, we'll go with the configure wizard and all. Like we won't remember all these things, right? And now we can get a database connection object here. Control K. DB connection object. So now we got the DB connection object. And why I am saying that, like, we need to go with the connect database activity, though we have we take run command, right? Run query. Even here also I have the configure connection, same. Again, everything will be same. But why I'm saying that, like, to go with the connect database, because there is an option in all the activities, we can provide the existing connection or else connections. So instead of configuring in each and every activity, what we can do is we can just put this DB connection object directly. Okay. And run query is nothing but execute query or run query. Run command is nothing but execute non-query or run command. But still the people are asking the questions on with the names of execute query and execute non-query. The reason is still the older name is that. Like if you see here, right, type. When I hover it, type execute non-query. And the just name is got replaced with run command, but it is actually execute non-query. And we can use update, insert, and delete. And run query is execute query. We can query a database and returns the query results in a data table. So let us to query, right? We have this start from student list. We'll just put that in the double quotes. That's it. Let us see that and then we will see. And we can create this control gap DT. So I will be getting into this data table. And here, see, this is text. We are giving the command, right? And we can use the stored procedure also. We will not be covering SPs here because I'm not, see, in my career also, I never used SPs, but in case if it was supposed to use SPs also, we'll put the stored procedure in this input box and we'll select the command type to stored procedure. That's the only difference we have. So now, so we are connected to the database and we are running the query and we need to disconnect from the database. DB. So remember one thing, guys, always, like you perform n number of operations in batch, but the connect and disconnect needs to be there in the beginning and the end. That is the way we generally operate. And even you can do our, you can see our data table also, whatever we have. Student list. And let us write the names.
Parth, just one question. Can you hear me?
Satish, I cannot hear because there is some problem. And but can we trigger existing SP from here? Yes, you can. So you can just give the SP name. So you cannot like you can give your SP name here in the run query, or sorry, or run command, whatever it might be. In case if your SP is returning you a table, then you can use the run query. And even if it is not returning also, you can use this. And you just need to give your command name, and you just need to select, instead of text, you just need to select the stored procedure. In case if you are writing the whole stored procedure here, then you need to select it as text, not as a stored procedure, because SPs will be already stored, will be available in your DB. So you can use SP in case if you are giving the SP name. And in case if you are directly writing all the stored procedure, then you will consider it to be a text only. Is your question clear, Satish? Perfect. Let me go up. And now let us see the name. Let us execute this and see. So we got the name, which means like we could able to connect to the database, and we could able to retrieve the data from database, and we can utilize that data. But this is a simple authentication, right? Let me create, sorry, Windows authentication. You need to go for the SQL authentication also. Let us go to the connect to database, configure which are SQL Server. So we don't have, so we will type it -msdb. And now select the database. I'll go with the SQL authentication. Click on test connection. So it got failed. Click on cancel, click on OK. Let us come here. And what is the user I have created here? To copy this and again try this out. Click on refresh. April training. Because we already selected it previously and we were not able to see it. The reason is this doesn't have the permissions to deal with our databases, because we didn't give any permissions to the user which we created it, right? So it needs to have the permissions on top of this database, and we don't have. And let us go with some different user. Select, see here. As soon as I changed it to the admin, it is having the permissions, and now I could able to see it. Okay. Then go with the test connection is okay. And now I want to go with the same activities. Everything is same. We are trying to perform everything same, except the method of authentication, and the rest we are performing the same actions. Let us run and see. Guys, I'll be back in a few minutes. Huh? It is taking some more time, like it is got hang. Just give me a few minutes. I'll be back. So let us go to the other flow, SQL authentication, and let us run this flow and see. See here. So in either of the ways, the things will be same. The only difference is the connection type will change. This is like authentication type will change. This is for the basic authentication. And if I come here into the properties, I can see that nowhere it was written the username or password, right? And if I come here, see here, we have the username and password. So this is how the database connection is can be established. And I always suggest to go with the Windows based authentication, but it doesn't depend on us. It all depends on how your office environment or organizational settings were. And in case if they enable the Windows authentication, and that can happen, or else they may create a separate user for your robot. So even that will work. So it all depends on the organization to organization, which authentication method needs to be used. Okay. So see, in terms of activities, right? Database activities. Just have a look at insert, bulk update and bulk insert. So let us do one thing. See, previously, what activities do we have is connect database, disconnect database, run query, run command. Only these are the four activities we used to have. And now there is a lot of changes happen. Let us come here. And I think this is also there, but we never used. Let us go with the database connection. And let us build a data table here for some data. Copy with headers, name. Okay, let us put Sri Hyderabad. Shok. Sri Ish. So let us have this data table. DT input data. And the table name we want to have a student list. DT input. So let us run this. And this will return us how many rows got inserted. Let us run this. 3 rows got inserted. Just to make sure that confirmation will execute this. So we got this inserted with the insert data. Okay. See, now we got all the names. And here, what I want to have is, I want to get the people who whose location is starting with HYD, not the complete name with HYD. Right? For that, what I can do is where location equal to, if I say HYD, right, I'll get only one name. Yeah, because the other is Hyderabad. So what I can do is I can just put like and percentage here. So we got to. The same we can use here. Run this file. So we got to. See, how do we get to know like this conditions and all? See, um, here we are focusing more on how we can interact with the database from UiPath through UiPath. So that is our focus, and how it can be done, like how we can interact and how what are the different operations we can perform from UiPath. And when it comes to the queries, I suggest you guys to go through over this to have a basic understanding, not MySQL, MSS, sorry. This will be good enough. So basic things like in syntax and select and where conditions and or conditions, updates, deletes. So just go, you can go through these syntaxes as and when required also. You can have an overview also. And see, when you are writing your queries, you'll get to know like how you can, based on your requirement, you can search in there and you can get it. So it's not a challenge, but just wanna see, tell you like what are the different activities we have and different operations we can perform on top of a database through UiPath. So our focus is that. Okay. And now, um, let us say I want to update HYD also to Hyderabad. I don't want to keep it HYD and Hyderabad to separate things. I want to update it. So how I can update? To update, we have update, table name is student list, that location equal to Hyderabad, where, see, condition will be always where, location equal to HYD. So if I have the location as HYD, update the location to Hyderabad. So I'm just copying this. I can put in this run query also, or I can use run command. In case if I put it in run query, right, it will not return me anything. I will not get any clear picture like whether it has got updated or not. But if I use the run command, it will give me how many records got updated, how many rows got impacted. So I'll put it here. Even if you put that in the run query also, it will work, but you will not get the update or return that like whether it worked or not. It successfully updated or not. Let us go to the affected rows. We go up above this. Let us have the box. Let me run this file. One is got updated. So let us run this file and see whether it is got updated. Click on OK. So 2 records got updated. So now let us see this bulk update, bulk insert. Oh, everything will work in the similar. Let me pull it here. I don't find any difference between these two. Right? Here, data table, table name. Data table, table name. I don't find any much difference here. So we can just go through the documentation, but we covered the insert and the update is also similar, right? So now if you see here, right, I updated it to Hyderabad. So let us do one thing. The table name will go for the table name. How this bulk update will work. DT input. So I'm restoring the data to the input. Columns used for the matching. We can use anything, right? You can use name. Oops. One second. Collection of column names used for row matching. Okay. I can just put name. I can give multiple column names also, but I'll go with the name because here name is also same for us, right? Unique. Let us have a box. Let us see how many got affected. It should affect only one because we updated one record. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. Connection object. There is some issue. Oh, you deleted the build data table? What is the other column? Course topic. Wanna update C's location from Hyderabad to HYD back. And let us run this file. Okay, let us run this. One got affected. Let us execute this and see. It was went back. So we can up. You see, it is not necessary to have this bulk update or bulk insert. To be very like up to me. We can achieve the update with the run command as well. Like based on the conditions only we'll be writing, right? But it just allowed you not to write the queries. But I don't feel like it is much more important or it is required. Okay, now in the similar way we can use this read we used, insert we used, delete also we can use in the similar way. So start transaction I never used. Let us see what it is. Never used. And need to look into it, but it is not important. And let us have our questions. Generally, what are the different questions can be expected in interviews, right? It is single question. all the time. It is always single question. What is the difference between the execute query and execute non-query? Okay, let us write out the list out the differences. So let us identify the difference between these two. Returns a table as data table. Returns number of records affected as integer. Used for reading the data from table based on conditions. Used for update or insert or delete the data from table based on condition. Okay. These two are the differences between the execute query and execute non-query. Okay. This is the question they will ask, like they will not ask anything more than this. Maybe they ask like how much do you have in like knowledge on um, databases. We can say like I worked with the databases in my processes. So as required in UiPath, like for performing all the crude operations, I have the knowledge. And even I'm okay with the joins as well. So just go through the some joins topic. It is not a bigger topic. You can just see and you can see till that place. And even it is not necessary to mention the joins also. Just I can perform the crude operations through UiPath. And because in all of my processes, for the reporting purpose, we used to store the data into the database. So let us put the question till that place. And see, it is not possible for us to go much more deep dive into SQL as well, because it is having a lot of things. And let me see, I have a book. I'll share it with you guys probably today in some time. And if you want, you can go through that book. So it's up to you. If you want to go much more deeper, also you can go through that. There is nothing wrong. Let me do one thing. Let me copy this table. Put it here. It is not working as a table. Mm, see, yeah. And do you have any questions, guys? Akash, you are typing something? Only one person is sufficient to handle UiPath database connection with the questions. See, till now I have checked with multiple folks, and that is the only question which they're asking. And they may jump in much more deep into SQL question and answers, but it is very rare scenario. Majority of the people will not ask much more in depth for SQL, because SQL is like an element or added right to the UiPath. It is not the actual. So in majority of the questions, this is the only question which they ask. Okay.